everyone. Welcome to Spirit Switchboard. I am your host, Kerrilynn Shellhorn, and you are listening to us live on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM in New Orleans. How's everybody doing today? It is International Women's Day today, so happy International Women's Day to all of those women that came before us, are with us now, and that will come after us. Hi, Contessa. Thanks for being here. Just going to switch some things up here. Just some housekeeping things for you guys as we get started. If you are new joining us and you are making comments or want to participate in the chat, if you're joining us through Facebook, you can go to StreamYard and give permission for your name to come up and your ID, so we know who we are talking to, because sometimes it will come up as a Facebook user. If you want to watch us, we are on Roku as well too. I believe, Laura Lee, you may have to help me out a little bit. I believe that you go to UFO space paranormal, and then you can find the shows under that on Roku as well too. And to listen to any of the archives, you can go to SoundCloud, and all of the wonderful shows that are on our network are listed on SoundCloud through the archives, and you can join us there. Hi, Denise. Oh, thanks. Happy International Women's Day to you too. Hi, Susan. So it's been a little bit of a journey to get this guest on today, and it's going to be so worth all of the effort and the waiting. It's been like waiting for Christmas. This lady, and it's brilliant. I think that it's divine timing having my guest on today, because it's International Women's Day, and she just wears so many hats. Like, I'm very inspired by all the things that she does. And so I'm going to introduce her to you guys now. So Marie D. Jones is a best-selling author of nonfiction and fiction, a screenwriter, producer with her own company, Where's Lucy Productions. She has appeared on television and radio all over the world and has hundreds of credits, writing for magazines, guest blogs, reviews, short stories, online articles, and gift books. She has lectured widely on the paranormal, unknown anomalies, cutting-edge science, metaphysics, and human consciousness. Please welcome to the show, Marie Jones.
We did it.
Yeah, it's great. It's so great having you here.
I used to be able to plan things well in advance and stick with them. And it just seems like the last few years, well, it's not just me. I think it's a lot of people. It's like, I don't know if I'll be available that year or that day or that week.
And I think when I was, when we were chatting a little bit in messaging back and forth, the book that we were originally going to talk about today, we're still going to talk about it today, but it's kind of like you have another book almost coming out. So we'll have
one. Actually, I have two.
Oh, that's so brilliant.
I'm looking at my hair and I'm thinking, oh my God, you guys, my hair never looks neat, and I do brush it. I just want to put that out there. I do.
So is it natural? Okay. Can I go there though? Is it naturally wavy and curly?
It's naturally messy.
Oh, see, I'm a former hairstylist and it's beautiful.
Well,
that is the perfect hair.
Like, it'll get long and I'll hack it to about then. And I'm really lucky because, a lot of women in their early 60s are losing hair, and mine just, I shouldn't complain.
It's beautiful. So I'm just going to read this from Laura Lee. Thank you, Laura Lee. She's just helping me out here. If you guys were wanting to watch on Roku, you go to the channel store, type in UFO space P in the search bar, and you're looking for UFO Paranormal and United Public Radio for our Roku channel. And you'll find all of the shows on there. Thank you, Laura Lee. So let's talk about some of those hats. And I didn't even mention your horses, MUFON. You've done all kinds.
I've done a lot of stuff.
You have.
I'm really, really tired. When I was in my 20s, pretty much 20s, 30s, 40s, a little bit in the 50s, it's like I could do 10 things at once.
Right.
And I could write 3 books and a screenplay at once. And now I'm definitely, it's like my focus. 1 book at a time, please. But you know
But do
what's
you think
weird?
that's
It still doesn't feel like enough to me. I still feel like I have to prove myself constantly. I don't know where that comes from, but yeah,
really?
it's weird.
Do you think
Yes,
that's ingrained in us as women?
absolutely. Yeah, a good, topic for International Women's Day. But
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like I'm only as good as the last thing I did. And so if I don't get, and I'm only admitting this because I think, as I've gotten older, I realize honesty is really great because
Oh,
there's so
yeah.
many other people out there that are waiting to hear somebody say,
Yeah,
what they're going
transparency.
through. Yeah. And so I've
Transparency.
really had to rein it in. Um, I have 2 nonfiction books coming out. One is an anthology called Women on the Fringe, Groundbreaking Women in the Paranormal.
Yes, I shared that.
Yeah, and so
That's gonna be brilliant.
we have 32 women who have contributed,
Mm,
sort of, I'm Bigfoot hunters, UFO, ghost hunting, you name it.
yeah.
And so that's coming out the end of well, actually in a few weeks. And I'm actually putting that out on Where's Lucy Productions
Oh, that's
books.
awesome.
So my 2 other co-authors that are putting it together, we're doing it ourselves. Oh my Lord. And then I have a book coming out with my traditional publisher in May called Everyday Magic. And I had promised myself at the beginning of the year, actually this was last year, that after that I was going to go back to fiction because that was my first love.
It's, the Echo. Is it the Echoes
Well,
or the
so
Echo?
Echo
Echo.
was, I kind of changed the name to Bullies Beware, Echo is Here, was called Echo. That's
Yeah.
a story that actually is based on my son's a real life. When he was in grade school, he was being bullied because he had a disability. And his way of dealing with it was he formed a spy group with other bullied kids to spy on the bullies and kind of stay
Right.
one step ahead of them. And they would use technology, they had spy watches and whatever they were allowed to get away with
Yeah.
at school. And it became so big that when I went to the parent teacher conference, the one of his teachers said, "Do you know about Echo?" I was like, "Is that a book you're supposed to read?" I didn't even know. And she starts telling me, and I'm like, "Are you kidding? My kid's a genius, And he still has a small group of friends he's 22 now,
Yeah.
from that time. So that
Brilliant.
book is loosely, but it's a lot of it is based on things that actually happened.
And when
But
you get
I've always wanted to write fiction from when I was really young. I wrote short stories, I wrote novels, and I really sort of fell into nonfiction almost by accident. And
do
I
you
stayed
find
with
that
it.
it
Oh,
does it
go
give
ahead.
you balance? Does it give you balance though? Because we are going to talk about the afterlife, which I've had the opportunity to read, and it's a lot.
It
There's
is. And that's
it's
one of the reasons why I feel like, and I hate to blame it on age, but like the older I get, the harder it's becoming. And I still write very intensively researched articles for New Dawn magazine. I'm on their staff, and I'm doing one on infertility right now. And it's like, this is 3,500 words. That's about all my brain can take. And I have a stack of research. When I
yeah,
wrote the Afterlife book, even though I had a co-writer and he was helping, I did most of the writing, and it it's so exhausting. It's interesting, but it's unbelievably taxing
yeah,
to the brain. And I was at the point where 30 books. I was like, I have to stop because if I don't, I'm never going to go to my first love, which is fiction, but also because it's too hard.
does it spill over a little bit into the fiction as well too?
So yes, it does. So my love is UFOs. That's my big passion, and the paranormal and all that kind of stuff. And what I love is that I can write about all of that stuff in fiction. And I'm working on a book right now that I think my son might write with me called File A, and it's a UFO related. And I'm
Mm,
actually including real cases and real things that have happened within the confines of a fictional story.
right.
And I love that. I love that I could take the fun part of like the nonfiction learning and reading and researching because I love that. And then I get to weave a story around it. And I've also
Yeah,
found that for a lot of people, reading about something in a fictional format kind of gets absorbed in the subconscious.
I agree.
Whereas, yeah, I mean, I've written some pretty heavy duty books. I've written about, media propaganda and toxins in our food and water, and they are so unbelievably intensively researched. They didn't sell very well. And I still feel like I want those messages to get out somehow because they're important to me.
Yeah,
And if I can, and without being preachy,
yeah,
get them, because my favorite fiction is stuff that could almost like, could that be true?
yes.
Could
Yeah.
almost be true.
And it's kind of
Yeah.
meeting people where they can mentally accept and absorb what it is that you're
Yes.
saying, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
so Laura Lee is one of our hosts on the United Public Radio Network, one of my fellow
Hmm.
co-hosts, and she's just commenting because she's a registered nurse.
Oh,
And a medium. She has lots of hats as well too. She's going to be coming on. So if you guys are listening, she'll be coming on in the last hour. She'll be joining me today. She's saying, I used to run our local infertility group. I started in my city, which is Thunder Bay, Ontario, for years. So awesome. You wrote a book about this topic.
well, yeah. And this article that I'm working on is about chemicals in the environment and how they're affecting fertility rates pretty
Mm,
seriously. And, a lot of the nonfiction that I write can get kind of depressing.
mm.
I did an article a couple months ago on child sex trafficking,
Oh, dear.
and my son kind of got mad at me when I told him I was doing it. He said, "Mom, that's going to depress you. You shouldn't do that." But then,
Well,
but then I thought, somebody's got to
yeah.
do this.
And
So,
and a lot of topics are like that, and I think to myself as well too that I have that privilege of being able to step away from it, but for somebody else that's their story,
yes, I know it. I
and
know it.
that's their truth. And so
Yeah.
being able to advocate or bring to light those is good for us,
Well,
even.
even writing like the Afterlife book, to be immersed
Mm.
for months and months and months on the subject matter of death.
Well, and so let's talk about that, because it
Yeah.
wasn't just about it wasn't about
No, no.
heaven and hell. This was like what happens to your physical body and how
Yeah.
it breaks down, and rituals. Like you really start from, okay, so you are no longer
A to
breathing, and
Z.
you are no
Death.
longer breathing, and now
Yeah.
minute 1, this is what
Yeah.
happens to your
That's
body.
fascinating. So whenever I write nonfiction, it's kind of my brand that I write the most comprehensive book that I can. So people have always said, I thought you were just going to cover, like I wrote a book years ago called The Déjà Vu Enigma. Oh, I thought you were just going to cover Déjà Vu. No, I covered, all kinds of stuff. And so with this book, you can't talk about the afterlife without first talking about death. What is it?
Mhm.
What happens? What different cultures believe?
Yeah.
um just everything, our attitudes about it, which in western countries are so different from other countries. And so I don't like to just write about one kind of narrow thing. I want it to be really comprehensive. I kind of always say, if you buy one book about the afterlife, buy mine. And you won't have to buy another one.
It's true though. It is so comprehensive because you really do. You go from the scientific perspective of what's happening to your physical
Hmm.
body. Then you look at the religious. Here's how different cultures and
Yeah.
belief systems approach death and
rituals attached to
some really
passing.
strange ones too, boy.
Okay, so I jotted down a little note about that, and I'm gonna hopefully it makes you laugh, but I'm gonna tell you in just a second. I just want to share this comment from Laura Lee, because she's so right in saying this. Somebody needs to share these poor victims of sex trafficking. So thank you for your courage and advocacy to share this topic.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons why I wanted to write it was my dad passed away quite a while ago. My mom's getting older, and she has dementia and other issues, and seeing, and myself getting older, is that you start to think about it more. It's more in your face.
Yeah.
And even though I don't necessarily want it to happen, I wanted to go towards it with a little bit more of a rounded, broader understanding. And I love the fact that there are some really bizarre indigenous cultures out there that do really weird things with, they prop their dead up and have a party while they're sitting in a chair, and they
And
have
be able to
cultures, just all kinds of weird stuff. But it's like, that's kind of cool. What
It
do we
is
do? We
at the
mourn
same
and
time.
grieve, and it's all negative. Although I think here, in the West, United States, Canada, what have you, we're starting to see more celebrations,
Yeah.
like end of life celebrations, kind of put a positive spin on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My friend Bob is just commenting, and he is saying, and many people feel the same, that they are actually afraid of death. And
Yeah.
I think
Who
that
isn't? Who
yeah,
isn't?
and I think
Yeah.
part of it, or my feeling is that we don't talk about it openly enough. We
No.
know that it's inevitable. Like, we all are going to. We just sort of tuck it away and ignore the fact that that's a truth.
Yeah.
And yeah, we just, or hide our feelings, not want to go to the raw emotions
Deny.
that are
Yeah.
attached to it.
Avoid, deny. If somebody says to me they're not afraid of death, it's like, you're a liar. You
Well,
are a liar. We are all afraid. Doesn't matter how
at
religious
some
you
point,
are,
somebody is, for sure. I've had the opportunity to meet a couple of people whose faith was so strong, and they
Yeah.
really knew exactly where they were going to go once they faced death very gracefully. But in my, because I've been able to connect with the other side since I was little, but full time as a career for almost like 18 years now, and a lot. I've seen a lot of clients
Yeah.
and done big events, and I'm saying a handful of people in that whole
Yeah.
time have been able to say that they knew for sure where they were going to go and were
I think
comfortable and had
it's
ease with it.
fear of the unknown more maybe even than death. And I also think
Yeah.
one of the things that I found is the fear of the grieving of the people that are left behind. Like,
Mhm.
I don't want to die, but I'm more worried about, like, leaving my son
Mhm.
and, having him grieve than and,
And can we
than
give
what
them
might
those
happen.
yeah, can we give them those tools before we pass? Can we
I
uh,
wish the
y
society would. And
yeah.
again, I know other cultures, the native cultures, indigenous, it's very open.
Mhm.
It's part of the discussion that they have about life always includes
Yep.
death, and that it's a cycle. And so, and
And
it's
rebirth.
a subject. But here's the funny thing. So one of the things that I wasn't going to include and I ended up including is this kind of quest for immortality that we have via transhumanism and trying to extend our lives with technology, which freaks me out. But then I thought, for people that are so afraid of dying, for a species like human beings that are so afraid of dying, we
Yeah.
sure do a lot of things to cut our lives short, right? We eat junk food,
Yeah.
and we have wars, and we are so stressed out. We have heart disease, and it's just kind of ironic that the thing that we fear the most, it's like we eat so much
We're tempting
processed
it.
yes, it's like, what are we doing?
Yeah. So I just, Bob, I hope that you're still
you're still with us, and you'll see like you're not alone in that. Fiona is just sharing, I'm terrified of death. I guess I'm just terrified of the unknown.
It is scary. I also found from a lot of people that I talked to when writing the book that the more you feel you've lived well, and that doesn't mean rich and famous, it
Yeah.
could, but the more that the less regret that you have going into your last days, the
Yeah.
easier that transition seems to be. And that's really important. If you don't find happiness or live your life, of course you're going to dread death.
Hmm.
You're going to feel cheated. Like I
Yeah.
never got to, actually live my life, and now here I am.
And
So,
regrets, and we hear that a lot, right? In
hmm
those last
yeah,
moments, the regrets that people have. Susan is just sharing, I'm not so much afraid of death, more afraid of leaving behind my sons.
yes, yes,
Linda is sharing with us, most of us are afraid of the process of death, not so much being dead.
yeah,
And Contessa's just sharing, I wish we knew where exactly we were going. I think it would make the transition easier and less stressful. It's interesting, like when I have 4 children, so my 2 older boys are like 15 months apart. They're going to be
hmm
like 31 and 30 this year. So my oldest son, when he was, I think he was 4, I'm pretty sure he was about 4. And he said, when out of the blue, and we're just driving and he's in the back with his brother. And he was like, if I die, you don't have to be scared because I'm just going to go back to heaven to be with God. And I didn't talk
yeah.
religion,
Isn't that
didn't have
wild?
a Bible, didn't take them to Sunday school. Like I never did any of that with them,
I've heard
ever.
that so many stories
And
like that. Like
he
they
just was very,
remember
yes,
for the first few
yes.
years of their lives, and then it all just, fades
Yeah.
out.
And he
Yeah.
said, Ryan and I were brothers or friends in heaven. We were friends and we chose to be brother in this lifetime. And we
Oh
chose
my,
you. We chose you to be our mom.
that's amazing.
And then he kept going. He's like, so that we could teach you how to be patient. And I'm like, oh, could that lesson be done now?
Oh,
Like,
busted. I think
totally.
that's amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
those kind of stories, even though they're subjective and
Yeah.
you can't prove them scientifically, they
Yeah.
give me more faith and hope
Yeah.
than anything, because some of the wise things that come out of these kids' mouths,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
my son would say things like, Mom, I'm not from here, and I don't want you to be upset if I have to go home. And I'm thinking, what the heck? Is this kid an alien? But I think he was maybe 6 when he said that to me. And I think, I've heard too that the way their brains develop, they're
Yeah.
still locked in and tuned
Oh, yeah.
into where they were before. And then sadly, although I think necessarily
I agree too.
that fades. And that's another thing that I'd love to ask you how you feel about this. I think about this all the time. If we knew that death wasn't final, or not final, but let's say, just for the sake of this conversation, if we knew where we were going to go and that we were eternal, blah, 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 would it change how we live this particular
Mhm.
life? And would that be good for the good or for worse?
Right.
You know?
Well, I feel I don't necessarily feel scared to die. I don't feel scared to die. Um, and I've had this conversation. I just recently had this conversation with my mom and got her quite upset actually with my
No.
opinions about
Mhm.
things because it's like it's exhausting being here. So I'm making sure that I just do what I need to do because
Yeah.
I know that I'm going to be okay over there. Like
Yeah.
I get but I have that honor and privilege of connecting with the other side continuously. I don't and anybody that's come through from the other side has shown
Mhm.
me a different heaven space. They've each shown me
Something
where
a little bit
they are
different, or
something a
yeah.
little different, right? And so I don't exactly know. I just know that my thoughts, words, deeds, and actions matter here,
Yeah.
and I don't want to have to be stressed when I go or have to redo or feel any. I just want
No
to be good.
do-overs.
No do-overs. Yeah.
So when you are talking to people on the other side, what are you finding the same commonalities that, like, near-death experiences, we always hear about the commonalities, and there might be
Yeah,
some
there
differences here
is.
and there. There
For
are.
sure.
Yeah.
And the ones saying that, you know, the regrets in their actions, the people that did some pretty horrible things, how they would
Yeah.
have how they know how that created ripples within the family structure and what they're trying to do to make amends and how they regret those. We just have a bunch of comments. Let's try to catch up on some of these. Contessa's sharing, I work at PMH Cancer Center and have seen the
Oh,
fear of death
yeah.
on patients' faces on it
Ugh.
daily, and it breaks my heart to see fear in them. My beautiful friend, Deborah Hackett Jones, as an end of life doula, I hear, feel, and see it all the time how people get ready to transition along with their families.
Wow.
Denise Smith's, love that story. You were given a heads up, one of your lessons. Yes, I was given the heads up by my sons for sure. Laura Lee is just sharing, I believe that we go on forever and we're just having a human experience in this particular lifetime. If we like, if we have faith and believe that there's going to be something else, I do feel if we're consciously aware and mindful and thoughtful with our words
Right.
and actions, you know, it does change
It'll
how we,
we'll level up a bit.
yeah, we do approach our day differently.
Yeah.
Susan is sharing, I love spending time with my sister's grandson because he talks about God. And it all started when I told him he's my favorite person.
Oh, how fun.
Yeah,
But
Linda is.
that's another is it the fact that you're going to lose this particular identity that scares
Oh,
people because the one
I don't know.
the one you come out with might be better, or how attached are we to this life, this identity, the people that are in it? Because it's my understanding that a lot of people believe that the people that are in this life will be in the next one, but maybe like your
And
son will be your brother, they'll
yeah,
change roles in order to facilitate lessons and growth that you need. And
yes,
them too. It's like the contracts, the
yes,
soul contracts, I guess you could say.
yeah. And I understand them, but I have questions about them too. Like,
Yeah.
did I really sign up for this? What was I thinking?
I know, like, really? I had a
I would
choice
have been I would have been at least 2 inches taller if I had known different.
Could I have a little
Little things.
Taylor Swift money? I mean, come on. This is
I don't know. But then
but
again,
maybe
if
in,
it's
in
we were probably very rich and not nice people before. So
in my
this
last life, I could have been a famous
yeah.
Vegas lounge singer. Who knows? And that's what's kind of interesting, is to
Yes,
think, wow, do we get to try on all these different
I think
hats?
so.
And
Linda is sharing the no do-over is a very Buddhist belief. She's also sharing you are accountable in the here and now.
yeah,
Oh,
this is such
Susan,
a topic
yeah,
that people just,
yes,
love to.
Afterlife. Susan, I worked in palliative care for years. The experiences were incredible. Laura Lee's just sharing she did as well too. Um, and Contessa's sharing for me, it's all about not wanting to leave my family, especially my son.
Yeah,
Again, if it just I don't depends on what your faith system is as well too, like that you will be connected and be able to feel them in a different way as well.
yeah.
Right? I had a magical experience in a session. Actually, yeah, recently, like very, very, very recently. And as I was talking to my client, and she's like we are now, where I can see her.
Hmm.
I saw, and I'm not an orb person. I am like dust,
They're just
moisture. I'm all
check the
about
dust.
it's these things first. We're
Yeah,
gonna debunk first. Even though I talk to
right.
dead people, we're gonna go left brain first, and
Yes.
then
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 we'll
we'll
go
go
over to
to
that.
unexplainable. And
Right.
but as I was talking, and I saw it, this beautiful ice blue looking orb shot right to her temple,
Oh,
came
wow.
out, came back to her temple, and left. And I was like this, and she said, "What just happened?" And I said, "It shifted. So these
Hmm.
people that were here now left, and this person's just came in, and I saw this ice blue orb." And she started to cry, and she said, "I think I know who that is. Can you wait a second?" And she
Oh,
ran and came back with this I don't know what kind of gemstone it is, but it was like ice blue,
Oh,
and it
wow.
was like in the shape of a teardrop. And it was a client that she had been helping prepare for his transition.
Oh, isn't that
And
something?
he came, and as I was shifting and connecting with this person on the other side, this ice blue, and she said, "It's this person." And then it's like the room lit up at the same time. It was
Yeah.
magical. And those are the things that make
Those
me
are the
feel,
things you
okay,
hold on
I
to.
know that
Yeah, they
there's going to
build
be
your faith.
more.
Right. Yeah.
There is going to be something more. Um, you talk about burial and cremation. You talk about rites and rituals. Oh, there's so many
Everything.
traditions. There's so much in there. And so the chapter that made me giggle was traditions you may not want to try at home, about the afterlife.
Yeah, there are some really weird native peoples out there doing some strange things. And
So the one that made me laugh was the finger amputation.
okay, yeah.
And why that made me laugh is because my dearest friend who helps me with online bookings and answers emails and all of that stuff for me, her and I have like off kilter senses of humor, right? And
Yeah.
she gave me a gray thumb keychain.
Oh,
It
how
looks, and it's all
funny.
rubber, and it looks like a thumb, but it's a keychain. And so I would keep it in the little, nook thing between the two chairs and or the two seats in
For
the
the
vehicle.
car. Yeah.
Yeah. So then my kid opens it up and there's this thumb, and he's like, "What is
Oh.
it?" It's just a thumb. And that's as soon as I saw that chapter, traditions you may not want to try at home.
Yeah, I think my favorite was the weekend at Bernie's, kind of propping the dead up in a chair and having a feast and a party while they're sitting there, to include them. But they're dead. And it's like, to us, that sounds incredibly morbid. But, every tradition and culture has their beliefs and their reasons. And that's all about inclusion. They may be dead, but we're including them in on this celebration.
Yeah.
And that reminds me of things like Halloween and, Dia de los Muertos, and um, just the symbolism.
Hmm.
Because we don't necessarily know 100% what happens, we kind of resort to symbolism. And I
Yeah.
think that that's kind of cool.
It's
If you think about the Halloween, the veil thinning and things
mhm.
like that, it's, and that's from the time humans walked the earth, when we didn't understand what was going on around us scientifically.
Yeah.
We turned to myth and story and symbolism.
And it's changed over time. Like, they used to lay them out in their homes,
Yeah.
in their parlors, and they were
Hmm.
in the house with them,
Yeah.
for a few days that way before there was any kind of burial, and we shifted away from that. And, there's
When we kind of learned about disease and
yeah.
things like,
Yeah.
hygiene and cleanliness and things like that. Yeah.
So I
But
just
it is, and I've always kind of joked and said, once I'm gone, do what you want, cremate me, I don't care, because I'll be gone.
right.
And but there's other people that are very tied to their physical body. I
Mhm.
want to be buried here, in this outfit, or I want to be cremated and spread here. And for me, it's hard to understand that, because my mentality is, I'm gone. I'm out here going,
Yeah.
hey, do whatever you want.
Well, and sometimes that's what it is, though. People needing to
Mhm.
do the rituals that are going to feel comfortable for them, so they feel
Exactly,
they've
or and their
done right,
families, and
that
their
they've done
families.
right by their loved
Yeah,
one that's passed. Yeah.
it's almost like you're honoring your families that are left behind too, so that
Yes.
they're able to
Yeah.
kind of grieve and move past it a little bit.
Contessa's just saying, I do believe in God, but I have lost so many loved ones that I haven't heard from them. So I fear when I go, I won't ever see my son again.
That's such a good point, because my father was a scientist. I'm the daughter of a scientist, and we used to talk about that, and I would say, when you die, I hope you give me a sign. And so, are they not giving us signs? Are they not able to? Are they giving us signs and we're not reading them right, or we're not seeing them?
Grief gets in the way
Yeah,
too. Grief, mental health,
yeah.
addictions. It could be subtle ways that they're doing it, and you're waiting for the big burning bush.
Right,
Like, it's
exactly.
got
Or
to be
maybe a
like,
feather drops and you're like, "Oh, what bird dropped a feather?" And
yeah.
yeah, but that's such a good point because I know a lot of people say that. Like,
Mhm.
my mom, when her mom died, when my grandmother died, all of us would smell her perfume. She
Oh,
wore Windsong. Nobody else wears Windsong. That's like an older, perfume
yeah,
from back in the day. And for a long time, when we went into her room, you would smell that, or you'd smell it even in areas of the house that, she was not in anymore.
yeah,
And then other people get really upset because they say, why didn't my child that passed away signal me? And I don't know what the reasons are for that.
yeah. It's
I
very hard.
don't.
It's very hard to give comfort. Susan is just saying a sign of your sign. We're all waiting for a sign of your sign, and
A sign of
it's,
your sign. I like that.
it's true. Um, we're just going to do a shout out. Hi, Case and Lee. Thank you for being here. Hi, Tammy. Thank you so much for joining us. Julie Kraus. She has also been on the show, so you guys can look up her archive on SoundCloud. So thank you for being here. Is Linda is just sharing. We have work to do when we cross over, too, so it can take some time for people to get messages from their loved ones.
Or they could be having
Oh,
such a good time. They're like, they forget all about us.
oh, isn't that interesting? Are you? So Mary Catherine is sharing my lights just flashed on and off twice as you shared the blue orb story. More affirmation. Yes. So Mary Catherine is the person who had
Oh, okay. Okay.
the
Wow.
so that's interesting that it just flashed now. And I love that you're having that connection and he's letting you know that he appreciates all that you did for him.
I
Thank you
think
for
nurses have lots of stories, like hospice nurses
yeah.
have such great stories to tell.
Hello, Nova Scotia. Hi, Mary. Thank you for being here. Hi, Cheryl. Um, the book I know, coming back to Bob and even Fiona, they have, very openly said that they're scared of death. And I found, I mean, it may not help them or ease that fear, but
Mhm.
it will give them some more education that your book and
That's how I
because they're
felt. That's why
so
I wrote it. I needed
yeah,
that. It's like, I
yeah,
need this. I'm not going to deny it or avoid it. I'm going to immerse myself in it. And I
yeah,
thought, oh, this is going to be so depressing and scary. When I came out, though, it was like, oh, wow. I mean, yeah, I'm still afraid to die. I don't want to die, but I kind of feel almost like I get it.
yeah,
I understand the cyclical process of life.
yeah,
Everybody goes through this, so it's not
yeah.
just God picking on me. So there were a lot of little ahas that I had facing it.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
And that's what I found. I mean, it's it's a lot, but you approach it so it doesn't matter where the individual who's reading it is coming from. If they're coming from a scientific background or a
yeah,
spiritual
yeah,
background, you've wrote it in such a beautiful way that we're going to learn something.
yeah.
Uh,
There's something for
Yeah,
for the lefty brains and the righty brains, and
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 everybody in
that's
between.
that's just what I have to do. I feel like if you're going to spend money on one of my books and I only give you one side of the issue,
Yeah.
I'm not doing my job.
Julie is just asking, can you say the name of the book again? So
It's the Afterlife book.
it's the
Super
Afterlife
simple.
book. Yep. The Afterlife, it's heaven,
Oh, it
heaven,
does have
hell,
a
and
subtitle. You're right.
yep, yep. Heaven, hell, and I'm very sorry. And the Afterlife.
Yeah.
No, Afterlife.
It's
Sorry.
and it's written by me, Marie D. Jones, and Larry Flaxman.
Oh,
And we don't choose our titles. The publisher does.
heaven, hell, and the light and
Yeah.
life after death.
Life After Death.
Yep, with Larry
Yeah, and it's
Flaxman.
funny because subtitles are such a funny thing. I have some books out where the subtitles are so long. And they
Oh,
do
good.
that for the keywords, for searching keywords. It's like, oh, really? How am I supposed to say that on our, what's the
So
name of your
Susan
book?
is just sharing that she's already got it on Amazon. Thank you for
I
picking it
am
up.
very proud of it. I really am.
It's wonderful. It's so well
Yeah.
written. I
Honestly, for
encourage
me,
everybody.
yeah, the most disturbing aspect of writing the book was the quest again for immortality. And I have a chapter on that because I feel like when we start letting technology step in and we play God, that we might be disrupting a perfectly natural cycle that is meant to evolve our souls, whatever.
Mhm.
And I think about, like, this is something all you guys can think about right now. Would you want to live forever
Mm-mm.
in this life?
Mm-mm.
Would you even want to live to the age of 200?
Mm-mm.
I don't know if I would want. I'm 62 and I'm like, God, I'm tired. I'm not ready to go yet, but those are
Oh,
questions that I wanted to ask because there are a
yeah.
lot of people that will do anything to
Yeah.
become, to find that key to immortality.
Yeah. Amanda is just sharing. Hi, Kerrilynn and Marie. I'm glad I popped in. This is so interesting. I was meant to pop in as I've struggled with the fear of death since losing my mom last April. I witnessed my mom pass in hospice in Guelph, which was amazing and scary at the same time and hard to process. The moment she left our world, the lights flickered and she looked up as
Oh,
if she was looking at someone. Myself and the nurses were in awe. And she's just sharing, I'm definitely going to order your book.
thank you. I have heard so many positive stories like that. In fact, I think that they outnumber the negative stories that I've heard of that sort of final moment.
Yeah.
And from a lot of nurses and hospice workers, because they're there, as well as family members that are there, how the person's face suddenly erupts into this sort of glowing smile.
Yeah.
And, scientists will say, oh, it's brain chemicals that, are helping ease the death. And I'm thinking, well, we really don't need that. You know, why
Yeah.
would that happen? We don't need that. We're going to die.
Yeah.
It feels like there's another reason for that other than just the body trying to adapt to something that's very fearful.
Yeah, and I see it a lot, where
Yeah.
I have a structure when I'm doing sessions, and part of that structure is I ask them to show me their passing. So I always start with their passing first, and it feels like being in their body at the time that they're passing, and I see out. So they'll show me where
Mhm.
people were standing around them and what was happening and who they saw on the other side that
Yeah.
was helping them to transition. So again, there's comfort in that for me. Laura Lee is just sharing living forever would involve so much loss if the person was the only one that was wanting,
Exactly. We would
wanting
all
to
have to
stay,
be
right?
on that same journey, and then the planet becomes overpopulated with no room for
Yeah.
new life to be born and brought in. The cycle
Yeah.
works perfectly.
Yeah.
We just
Linda
don't
is,
really like that when we get to the transition point of the cycle. But nature, I have a wall outside my window and there's a vine on it. It's this grapevine. It's gorgeous in spring and summer. And in winter, it's dead. And I'm looking, it's like, there's no green. It's dead. It's dead. And then inevitably, as the months go on in spring, the
there's
leaves
life.
start coming through. I'm like, I'm out there looking, where are they coming from? And
It's
nature's fine
beautiful,
with
right?
that. I don't know if it's the ego or the level of consciousness that we're at collectively, but nature is fine with that cycle. So I find that to be a little comforting.
Yeah,
If,
I do
if
too.
nature's doing it, we're a part of nature, okay.
Linda's just sharing that she got it as well too. Your book.
Oh,
Susan is
thank you.
saying no one passes alone, and I'm not talking about people in the room. Exactly. And Laura Lee is writing. She's just sharing. Yes, I'm writing a book about the incredible events we witness at the bedside when someone transitions from this life back
I
home.
want to read that. I
Yeah,
love, yeah, those are so hopeful and comforting.
Case is just sharing. I don't want to live forever. I agree. He's saying
Yeah.
human existence is too painful. Well, moments. I think moments are certainly
Yeah.
painful, and they shape us, right? what do you feel is the biggest aha or something that surprised you that you learned from researching for the Afterlife book with
How fearful Western culture, Western traditions and religions, and the evil and the punishment and the hell and the guilt and the fear, and yet there are a lot of other traditions around the world that look at life again as a celebration of a transition and the cycle of nature. I think, I mean, I always knew that Western beliefs were more ego based and more fearful, and we clutch on to, everything we don't want to let go.
yeah.
Um, but
And
that still surprised me because even with there is not a whole lot of scientific proof of the afterlife, but it's increasing. And where that
yeah.
scientific proof is and that research is coming from is looking into consciousness. Is it something that's within the brain, external to the brain, acting and reacting upon the brain and all of that? And so as that increases, again, me being the daughter of a scientist, that makes me extra excited.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's like just like with the paranormal.
You
You
I
can't prove in a
yeah.
clinical setting.
Yeah.
But my dad, I mean, he was a physicist and he would say it. He believed total UFO buff and really into the paranormal. And he would say, just because science hasn't caught up yet with those laws of how that stuff
Yeah.
works doesn't mean there is not a science behind it. We
Yeah.
just haven't figured it out yet. So
Yeah.
that's kind of fun for me. That's exciting for me.
I listened to an interview that you did and you had made a comment about the paranormal and EVPs and I hadn't thought of it at all. So I had learned something listening to that interview that you did. And it was from 4 years ago, where you said in the EVPs, how do we, could it be our own thoughts that are being projected out and coming back to us through that as well too? And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, I hadn't even thought of that. I
Yeah.
hadn't even thought of that.
There's so many different things that, ghosts are different theories of what they are. They can be the spirit or the essence of a deceased person. It could be someone who's alive and well in another dimension or universe. It can
Yeah.
be our projections, our conscious projections.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I love that part of it too. I love where science and spirit merge. I
I
love
do
that.
too.
Yeah.
I do too. And I love when there's equipment that's picking up things that I'm picking up at the same time. It can
Hmm.
validate all of that. Then,
Yeah.
that feels good to me. Laura Lee is just sharing your father was, was a very wise man.
He was an earthquake and volcano expert. And we
Wow.
wrote a book together called Supervolcano that to this day still is my best-selling book. And
Wow.
he died of ALS, which is a horrible
Yeah.
disease. And we were going to write another book together, and I really, that makes me sad. But
Mm.
yeah, I mean, he was the first person to introduce me to quantum physics and theoretical physics and talk about, well, we don't have proof that they tie into paranormal phenomena, but here's how they could. So the very first book that I wrote that was nonfiction, I wrote a book called Looking for God in All the Wrong Places, and it was just sort of a fun spiritual commentary. But the very first serious one I wrote was called Science, PSIence, how new discoveries and new science and quantum physics may explain the existence of paranormal phenomena. I think that's the subtitle. It's a long one. And I got to explore all these different ways that science could explain the paranormal or may one day explain it,
I love that.
and kind of vet it through my dad and other physicists that I knew at the time. And I'm not saying that, like, I think healthy skepticism is good. And I'm not
Oh,
saying
me
that
too.
just because you can't prove something in a clinical setting or a laboratory setting, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. We certainly know that that's not true. But I love when things start to kind of merge.
Yeah.
And it's like the science is going to catch up with the subjective spiritual stuff,
Yeah.
which I think is always ahead.
I do too. Michelle is just sharing my condolences. My father passed with the same disease.
Oh,
A,
it was awful.
a friend of mine passed away I think this will be week 3. Yeah, week 3. She passed away from ALS as well too. And
Yeah.
she faced it. She was a teacher and an inspiration to many, many, many people. The way that she moved through that process was it was amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Lord Lee is just sharing, and I'm sharing the stories of those who wish to share their stories as well. I've already come across some incredible stories to share. So if you guys hang in, Laura Lee is going to be joining me in about 10 minutes on the show, and we'll get all of her information. You guys, if you have stories that you want to share that you can send to her, she'll give you the email address or the ways that you can contact her if you guys have stories that you want to share. Part of that the concepts that you were talking about in the Afterlife are also in the celebrity Ghosts and Hauntings. Just that idea
that was such a fun book.
Yes, like just the imprint and the energies that are attached when we're talking about death. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about it?
So that was such a fun book because it's all about not just celebrities that have seen ghosts, but ghosts of celebrities. But
exactly.
Before I got into all of that, I wanted to talk a little bit about, when is a ghost not always what we think of as a ghost, and what are the different types of sightings and experiences that people have.
You do a brilliant job educating people. Even at the beginning, it's not all about the celebrities.
It's not. And that same thing can be applied to UFO sightings. We're not looking at just one kind of UFO sighting, the nuts and bolts. We're talking possibly interdimensional. We're talking about possible, projections of consciousness. We're talking about a lot of, now what are they saying? Ultra, there's all kinds of new things. So I really wanted to look at that because some ghost reports feel like imprints. They feel like looped activity that is not aware of the fact that it's being observed. It's just sort of like running a movie on a loop. Like it's imprinted into the environment. Other times people will see an apparition and that apparition will acknowledge you, that it's being seen. It might even interact with you. We have ghosts that appear in clothing from, the 16th century, and they're doing things that people did. So are we seeing a glimpse into our past, into somebody that is alive in another timeline? Hundreds of years ago. And I'm so
into the concept that it's us from the future checking in on us, like historical documentation of the past.
That's a big UFO theory too, that we are the aliens, coming back. Like, we sure look kind of weird, but so I'm just really fascinated because I remember growing up, I was totally into telling ghost stories, but we just at that point believed that ghosts were always the spirit of a dead person. And then, over time, we've expanded the possibilities of what ghosts might actually be.
Yeah. It's right at the beginning of that book. Because you go through all the different types, what a haunting could be and maybe, and different types of spirits. And you really educate people first before you even get into celebrity haunts or notorious places. And you go like all kinds, like from battlefields, railroads, churches,
everything I could think of.
That
was
like,
such a fun book.
It is a road trip.
It's
a big road trip. And the movie sets, like the different where
especially in the olden days where somebody may have died and they're still lurking on the set.
Rosemary's Baby.
And Poltergeist. The little girl Heather, just sort of the creepy curses that have supposedly occurred on certain movies. Because again, I mean, if you're going to buy my book, you're going to get it all.
You really do.
Yeah.
I I'm a fan. I'm fangirling. I'm glad that
Thank
you want
you.
to come back in May.
I will. I will. I'll come back anytime.
Because there's
Yeah,
so
it's
many
just
more.
such
I
an
mean,
expansive subject.
there's yes, because we didn't even talk, we're not getting it today. I wrote it down. It was Batman. So some people
I'm trying to
know my
remember.
fascination. I'll remind you. So
Okay.
I some people know that I am a huge fan of Batman. Huge. All of my pets are named after Batman.
Oh, how
So
funny.
like like all of them, even Nora, which sometimes people don't know, but anyway, it was Mr. Freeze's wife in the comic book. So
Oh, wow. You're
his
really,
oh
you're
yeah,
really
I'm in.
linked
I'm
in.
all
Yep.
in. And so the story that you put in the book about Batman, I got all excited. So it was that Heath Ledger was warned by
Oh,
Jack
okay.
Nicholson to
Yeah.
not take
The
the
role,
role
yeah,
as
of
the
the
Joker.
Joker. Oh,
And
yeah.
in the
Ugh.
script, he wrote bye bye by his picture. At the end of the script, he wrote bye
Ugh.
bye, and then we know what happened. So I keep hoping that I can have him come through at some point, because I do have lots of celebrities that we're going to talk about it in the next hour, Laura Lee and I, that have come through in sessions and seances and stuff that I've done. And I keep watching. Oh my goodness. What is I'm having perimenopausal brain fog moment. So where he says he can change his stars. Oh, something night. The movie that Heath Ledger made. Does anybody remember? I may need some help. Anyway, he tries to be a knight, but he's not a knight.
Oh, it's like a romantic
Yes.
comedy?
Yes.
Vaguely.
Oh my gosh, it makes me
Vaguely.
laugh. I giggle all the way through it. I
Yeah.
just love it.
He
And A
was
Knight's
so
Tale.
handsome.
Thank you, Tanya. A Knight's Tale. And I just hope, I'm
There
like,
you go.
okay, Heath, come on in. We're
Yes,
watching
let's
your
talk.
movie. We watch Batman continuously because he was brilliant as the Joker. Come on in if you're going to come in.
That's
I know
funny.
that I need to let you go. I'm just going to let Kaysen did ask a question, and I think that you'll be able to answer. Hopefully you can answer this quickly before you go. Kaysen's just sharing what's your take on the slight weight loss, because I know that you did write about that as well too, the weight loss of the body just after a person.
So that experiment was debunked. Well, it was debunked by some and not by others. To me, I don't think the soul has weight. I don't think consciousness has matter or weight. So I mean, scientifically it was debunked.
Yeah.
But that doesn't keep me from feeling like something leaves the body.
Yeah.
Love we can't measure love on a scale. I don't think we can
No.
measure consciousness or the soul, which I kind of almost feel like are one and the same on a scale. What I do think you can measure is like a loss of water, or
Yeah.
just something physiologically that happens that might have resulted in what the weight changes were. But that's a tough one.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
just feel like
appreciate.
the soul is weightless.
I do too. Expansiveness. And when, from my perspective, when I'm doing sessions as well too, at a point in time, there's less form. I don't even know how to explain. It's like all that is. They're just kind of around me without a form.
Yeah. Right. It's not matter. It's maybe some other kind of substance
over
that we're
time.
dealing with. Yeah.
Yeah, over time.
Yeah.
So the book is the Afterlife book, Heaven, Hell, and the Life After Death, and the co-author is Larry Flaxman. And you are going to be coming back on. We already talked about that in the spring.
Yes.
With
We will
your
talk
new book.
about everyday magic.
Yeah,
Yes,
everyday
something
magic.
you need to find in your life so that when you do die, you die fulfilled.
I love it. Thank you for coming on and being
Thank
with
you
me
so
and sharing
much.
your time and energy with me, and for all the work that you put into what you do. And
Thank you. Thank you.
it's appreciated and loved by people like book lovers like me.
Well, I appreciate that because writing is a solitary business, so we like to hear, hey,
Yeah.
somebody likes our books. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. And I know like the people that I'm friends with in my little community that I have are all readers as well too. And so, I'm glad that they are finding you as well too.
Sounds good to me. And people can reach me through my website. I'm very approachable, and you can email me and we'll chat.
That's brilliant. And so we've had the website up. It is mariedjones.com. So that
Yeah.
is the website. And you have links to all the other places that you are. And you can
All the
find
social media is on there.
Yeah. And you do a great job on Facebook, promoting all the things that you have coming up
I
as well
do.
too.
I'm kind of a jokester on there because somehow I got known as, posting funny stuff, and it's now people will not let me stop doing it.
I
But
love
I
it.
do have to promote books in there too. So
I love it. Well, thank you so much.
thank
And this has
you. It
been
was a
great.
pleasure. It was a pleasure.
Thank you. Okay. Take care.
You too.
So if you guys have been listening to us or you're just joining us now, you have been listening to the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7, New Orleans. And joining me now is my friend and host, colleague on the United Public Radio Network and the UFO Paranormal Radio Network, Laura Lee Potvin. She is the host of the Angel Rock on Monday evenings at 6
to 8 p.m.
Right. And the Thing at the Foot of the Bed on Thursdays at 7.
Yeah, 7 to 9 p.m. with David Hansel. What a fantastic guest. Oh my gosh. I can't wait till she comes back.
Honestly, there was just so much. It's like she could come on weekly because they're so like she's so knowledgeable about so many things. And
what she talked about, I've got goosebumps with the things that she wrote about. Talk about a yappy chatter, but I just had so many things I could comment on. And wow, what we should mention though, because you and I are going to get to meet finally in person in October.
Yes. So thank you for bringing that up because I'm sorry that I forgot, but I didn't forget. So Laura Lee is in Thunder Bay, Ontario, and I'm in Guelph, Ontario. And Lucky Paranormal is a paranormal group out of Thunder Bay, Ontario, and they are hosting the Lake Superior Paracon. The Lake Superior Paracon, and it is the first weekend of October. And I'm going to be a guest speaker, and you are going to be a guest speaker, and I'm going to be doing a Spirits and Sweets event on the Sunday.
I'm not missing that.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to be able to meet you in person as well too. Shane, Holger Files, Jeff Belanger, he's going to be there as well too. Beyond the Hauntings, the ladies from BC, they're going to be there. Dee Macaulay.
One of the local guests I know too, Catherine, and she's a pretty incredible medium and psychic. I saw her, Catherine Keeping. I saw her name on there locally. I know her, but I should, right? I've lived in this city my whole life, so it's not a big city. But like when I've already explained it on our show, right? If you're going from one side of Canada to the other, you have to come through Thunder Bay.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if you don't want to drive through the States to go south, you have to come through my city. Well, same as Sault Ste. Marie, right? You're from Sault Ste. Marie too. So
if you're taking the Trans-Canada Highway, you're going to drive through Sault Ste. Marie, Wawa, and Thunder Bay. Hi, Jonathan. Thank you for joining us here. Jason's just saying hi to you as well too.
I shared it. I just shared it. I said, I'm going to be live in 5 minutes.
Thank you.
What we were going to be talking about.
You are such a, you multitask with more grace and ease than I do. I go into
being a nurse, you have to. Like,
I go deer in headlight mode.
I worked critical care, right? And sometimes there wasn't enough of us, and you've got these little 500 ground grandbabies or less, and you don't know who's coming, who's going to be born. Somebody could walk in, have 27-week twins or whatever. And I remember people used to say to me too, how do you seem to get calm the more busier it gets? I said, I don't feel that way inside.
And it's funny, like I know we both have kiddos in the spectrum, in the autism spectrum as well too, and definitely in those younger years having to be okay, like having a plan A, B, C, and D at the ready.
You know what? Spirit gave me something, and they've given me quite a few sayings that I say a lot. And one of them was, and I knew this, like, because he's going to be 26 next week, actually. But when he was very young, as you would well know, it can be very challenging, especially when your child's nonverbal. And sometimes he'd rage for 3 hours, and all you could do is hold him, just so he didn't hurt himself or hurt anybody else. Right. And remember, Spirit, this came from Spirit. And then I wasn't aware of my gifts the way I am now. And what they said to me, and I use it all the time, if it doesn't make any difference 10 years from now, let alone 10 minutes from now, let it go and pick your battles. Right. Yeah. And so that's kind of how you learn I think being a mom too, you have to multitask, right? You know that you got more kiddos than I do. You're a good mom.
Yeah. I was working for like a line on a hockey team. I didn't quite make the whole line, but I got 4.
Yeah. I would have had 100 if I could have. I was lucky to have 2.
I had a lot of losses.
Oh,
so that, and it's interesting when I connect with other sensitives, if they were going to give me a reading. I don't get very many readings really, but it's usually the first thing that they pick up. There's a bunch of kids. I'm like, oh yeah. Yes, there are.
Knew from a very young age, and I used to talk to my guides. I never really cared about the name of my guides, but I know one of them that's been with me my whole life, and I've never heard this name before ever. The name was Katem. And Katem used to come and talk to me when I was little, and she always told me I was going to have 3 little boys. And she told me their names. Like, I guess I don't remember the whole conversation. I'm going to be 59. And I remember I was about 3 or 4 having these conversations at night when I would go to bed. And I wanted to call the first one, I thought it was going to be named Jordan, second one, Justin, and the third one, Jared. And I'm not a big fan of the name Jared. Well, I wanted to call my eldest Jordan. My husband would not hear of it. The only name he would allow was Logan, because he is a fan of Wolverine. And it wasn't
Who isn't?
Yeah, but it wasn't popular. My son's going to be 29. It wasn't really popular back then. It wasn't a common name.
Right.
And then I had a miscarriage when I was 50. And the really odd thing was, when I was working with a mentor for my mediumship, how we would do it is I would meet the person, they wouldn't meet me, and fellow students, you get to talk for 30 seconds and you had to give each other a reading. You couldn't see each other, know nothing. You just had to hear each other's voices, which I think is good practice.
Yep.
And I remember so many of those students would pick up the little boy around me and describe him. So I don't know if that's my little boy or not, but they pick him up around me all the time.
That's awesome, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to extend the conversation.
Great conversation.
That I started with Marie, because she, I wanted to extend the conversation about celebrity hauntings and celebrity, connections. And have you had any? I find it weird. This is like really going to be an out for me. I trickle little snippets every once in a while, but really not. I've really not outed myself about connecting with people that are more well known on the other side, because I like the evidential. For sure it's grandma. This is like the structure. When you have celebrities, it's I don't know. I just felt weird about it. So
a pedestal, and we realize that we've all been celebrities at one time in one lifetime. We've been it all. We really have.
I know. I just have always felt weird about talking about it out loud, and I don't know why. I
was just going to say why. I think I know why. You're a very humble person. And I think people, when they hear a celebrity, there's a lot of doubt. Well, why would they want to talk to you, first of all? Or second of all, you're not going to brag about it. I don't tell people either. Like what I shared with you earlier, what I'm going to say. I've never really put that out there either.
Yeah, it's hard. And So I found the celebrities that have come through for me in sessions have come through because the client is going to do something that celebrity was also a part of.
Okay.
And so they're coming in like a guide. They're coming in saying, yep, here's what we can do, and this is what's happening. And it's amazing when that happens. When I started doing the seances at home and using the SB11, doing the Estes method, and then when I got the portal and doing the seances at home, and it started with the movie Twister, which there's a remake. So the movie Twister, and I had the candle spinner going, and it kept looking at it and going, oh, that looks like the ant spinner in the movie Twister. And then I just went from there, because there's a bunch of those people from the movie that are crossed over, right? And I'm like, I want them to come through. And then they did. And then they kept coming through, and they kept bringing more people
I've
in.
never done it, like asked somebody to do it. My experience is a little different. Yeah, Jonathan, I've actually done the Estes method with Jonathan over the internet.
Yeah.
I love what he does. He uses his spirit box to
Yeah.
help families solve cold cases and get
Oh.
answers for families and stuff. So
That's brilliant. Jonathan, Jonathan, you have your own podcast as well too, do you not?
yeah, he does JK40. It's JK47 Paranormal on Tuesday afternoons. Unless you change the time, Jonathan, I think it's 12 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, I think, on Facebook.
Yeah, just want to make sure that you can
Talking with the Source with AJ Capasso too. I think it's on Sundays still.
That you can do your.
Sorry, I missed the targeting with the JK.
targeting with JK47. I just wanted you to be able to have a little shout out as well too. Oh my gosh, is that Deadpool? Is your little thing Deadpool?
Who, me? Oh,
no, like the little profile picture, Jonathan.
Deadpool.
I have a little Deadpool figurine that sits on the dashboard of my car. So I drive around with Deadpool in the car.
I have all kinds of shirts I wear with Deadpool. I love Deadpool.
It's just funny. Susan is sharing. I remember when Gord Downey came through in a group reading, and Gord Downey has come through quite a lot, actually. Even at a public event that I did, he came through.
I bet people listening may not know who he is, though, right?
So, which is sad. He's Canadian icon, singer, songwriter, advocate.
He was the lead singer of the Tragically Hip, so people may know that band if they're old enough from the name.
Yeah. Yeah, the Hip. Contessa's sharing, I'm not a starstruck person. I feel there are people just like you and me, but when I watch a movie by Keanu Reeves or see his picture, I feel like I know him from another life. Do you think this is possible? Yes.
Absolutely.
I do.
So I do too. I was going to say with some of the people, but the way it's worked is in a roundabout way how I got involved. But one of them I feel comfortable saying is Albert Einstein, and I feel I'm not special. I think one of his roles from the other side is working with people that are able to tune in and hear him. And he's doing things from the other side, I think, to sort of help with things that are going on in this planet, I'll say. And we've asked him, because I work with a few people that we connect with him, and they have quite the personality, right? Like it's almost like they maintain a little bit of what you perceive them almost to be.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So, and on the SB11, like their voices sound just like them. Like when Philip Seymour Hoffman came through, it sounded exactly like him. Wow. When Prince has come through, and it's always on point. The answers are like responses to the questions are intelligent, and it sounds like his voice. And when he comes in, it's always a guitar riff first. So as soon as we hear the guitar, then we know who we are about to get.
I have a cool story with Prince. So I used to love Prince in high school. And when he passed, I remember one of my friends from high school wrote me. I had talked to him in years, and he said, I never realized what a brilliant musician he was. He goes, I used to laugh at you in high school. And he goes, now I realize. But I went to a concert with my significant other and his best friend in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And it was a state fair, and there was Culture Club, Thompson Twins, and the B-52s. And at the last song that Boy George sang was Purple Rain. I swear to God, I'm getting goosebumps even talking about it. Prince was at the top of the stage. There was an overhang and he was playing along with it. And I watched I was crying through the whole thing. It was one of the most beautiful experiences.
He was a beautiful man.
He was.
Like, and again, an advocate. Amanda sharing, yes, that was a cool experience when Philip Seymour Hoffman came through. Amanda was here and part of that seance.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah. It was just, it was a lot that was happening during that seance. And then he seemed to be the one that was bringing everybody else in. And it was just, and they continue to come when we do the seances here. It's just one after another that comes in. Jonathan is sharing, I'm thinking of Nikola Tesla after this week.
Cool. I've been feeling the call to connect with Nikola Tesla as well recently.
Contessa's sharing, that's so amazing about Albert Einstein. I've read so many books about him. Good to hear he's helping from. There's many people that are helping us as the human species and the planet from the other side.
We asked him though. We asked him specifically. Like we said, we can't be the only people, and he said, "Oh, definitely not. Like I'm working with all kinds of groups of people all around the world."
And I know that you shared with me earlier, and I'm going to bring it up because I've had the same experience as you with Robin Williams helping. Robin Williams comes through a lot. Oh, I just got cold.
He's the entry person in, and the cool part when I connect with Robin, it's same sense of humor, and sometimes he'll show up like because he knows I'd recognize it, right? Like he'll just show up as the genie and change all kinds of shape. It's so cool. I keep getting goosebumps too every time I talk about this. Albert tends to I remember one time we were connecting, and this is the first time we realized who it was. And my friend was the one transcribing, and she said, it's almost like I can see an old DOS computer. And as she was seeing the letters type, and we started to see the theory of Rella, and we all jumped up and yelled, "Oh, Hell." No, none of us know physics that well. And then my friend started laughing. I've never forgotten this. She goes, you literally could see each letter erasing off of the screen as he tried to say what he was going to say.
That's funny.
He's got quite the sense of humor too.
And they do. I think that they come through with humor for sure. I've had a couple of experiences where tragic deaths that weren't completely crossed over. And so having to assist and help with that, and then connecting at another point in time where it's much lighter. So, that happens as well too. Denise is just sharing, I would want to see Robin Williams as Mork. That's funny.
He may come through for you. You never know. I really believe everybody has some type of intuitive ability, right? It's just tuning into that frequency.
Yep. Contessa's sharing, love Robin. This is fascinating. I'm getting goosebumps just listening to you ladies talk about this.
He's definitely helping from the other side.
Allegedly, Robin Williams comes through and regrets unliving himself. And so this is this is part of why I've always kind of kept the who and how often celebrities come through, because there's so many mediums and we're all picking up on different levels and we all have different intentions. So the messages we receive are going to be different as well too, based on whatever our intentions are in that moment, or what our path and purpose is, and if they're supporting our path and purpose and what we're doing. I don't know. I think that's part of it as well too. And I there's a huge part of me that just doesn't want to be an entertainment monkey for people either. Do you know?
And I don't think spirits want to on the other side either. No. That's what makes me angry when you see get angry but disappointed when you see. I understand that people are trying to prove, say, if they're filming a show for a channel for YouTube or something, and you've asked the spirit to ring the bell, and they've done it for you, and then you ask like about 4 more times afterwards. Like, you're not performing monkeys. Like, they've shown you already.
Oh my God. Okay, let's do this back because I can half hear you. I wasn't sure if we were going to. Do you want me to turn the SB11 on and let it start running?
Yes,
Or do you
that's what I posted.
portal?
I posted we may be using ghost boxes.
You want me to turn the portal on too, or just the SB11?
I just have the. I don't have an. I've been looking into buying one, but I have just the YouTube app, or not the YouTube. Sorry, the apps. Mind you, some of my favorite people that I see. Definitely. Sorry, I just noticed my phone. I shouldn't have looked at it. Here, I got a message. Some of the people that I see, the channels I follow, they use the apps too and get quite a few.
Oh yeah.
Like, I love that. Like, the Foreman brothers will be on tonight. I'm going to be watching them. My Friday won't be complete without Paranormal Nightmare. So the one I like a lot is Ghost Tube. I've tried some of the other ones. I'm not too.
The voice is so creepy on it though.
On Ghost Tube?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Is it too loud?
I don't know. Well, I don't want to interfere with what you're doing here.
Oh, no. It's okay to do it. I'm just saying like that. It's.
I've heard the really gross, creepy, almost demonic voice on there, but I've never.
Me too.
I don't get that one.
Jonathan is saying necrophonics is the best.
I've tried it. It's been hit and miss.
I can't judge. So can you hear it sweeping, or do you need to?
It's great. It's perfect how you have it.
Oh, just say hello. Did you hear that?
I did. Hello. Who are we talking to?
I think the other part of me, I guess I have to make sure I'm okay if I'm going to open up and have stuff come through too for myself.
I just heard something there, male voice.
So, Contessa's asking what are we doing. So I have the SB11. I'll just hold it up so you guys can see it. I have the SB11 and I have both going. I have it on an AM and an FM. One station is sweeping in reverse, one sweeping forward, and it's sweeping through radio stations. Spirits can use the energy attached to it to come through and use those words. And it's very clear. It's over top of any of that noise that's coming through, like when it's sweeping through. And Jonathan, feel free if I'm not explaining it correctly, or if you want to add to it, you can chime in because you do this more consistently than I do. This is a big part of what you do. And I just tend to pull it out when I'm doing investigations or the seances. I don't play with it or not play is the wrong word. I don't utilize it as a tool on a daily basis.
But you know what? It works. Like, and remember, I had done it one time on my show, and people were amazed. I forgot, unless you really are into the paranormal, you don't know this technology exists.
And I love, because for me as a medium, I can feel it move from me to the tool and back to me. Like the energy shifts, and you can feel when they're using me for a message and when they're going to use that.
I don't know.
So we actually had a fart EVP before. That's funny. Jonathan's just sharing. I used it on an investigation and I farted, and 10 seconds later a spirit said,
I have a couple apps in here. Like Jonathan suggested one. I like Ghost Tube. I have about 6 or 7 myself.
Yeah. And you can get a special like a speaker for it as well too. Kasen's just asking, I see some mediums channel figures like Buddha and Jesus. Is that a possibility? Yes, because I've channeled both.
I was just going to say, heck yes. And I know many people that do channel them or have connected directly with them. I know I have a friend who claims that Jesus has healed them. They've been quite ill many times in their life. They have very fascinating stories.
I agreed.
He wants to know what you're scanning
200. I have it at 200. Tell me why 150.
Yeah.
Jonathan's just sharing. I scan at 150. So I have it set at 200, both of them.
Hang on, I'm gonna see if I can those two. So I have those two on too, so we'll see what happens. Does anybody have any questions you want to ask or ask?
Yeah.
Come through. Oops, I just took a picture by accident there. Have you seen with Ghost Tube, though, they have that visor now and they get an AI picture that spirit can manipulate the energy and send pictures?
It's creepy.
Some of them have been really beautiful, I've seen, though.
Really?
Yeah, they haven't all been
No,
really.
I haven't looked enough.
Again, I'm sorry, you guys. I'm a huge fan of the Foreman brothers from Paranormal Nightmare. I think they're doing a really good thing for people, and I think they don't fake evidence. And they're usually on Fridays. Why am I paused here? That was weird. I'm paused on my screen. This is so weird. It took a picture and I'm paused on the screen. I'll have to
So
go ahead.
I'm not sure, to be honest, Denise, what the bleep or the screech is, but what's interesting is the screech gets heard by lots of paranormal investigators. Sometimes there's a screech that will come through before an EVP. I don't know. Jonathan may know the answer. I might have to have Jonathan on to help educate me.
We've had EVPs come through on our shows too.
We do. And yes, we have had EVPs. We had when I was doing I did move it down, and we'll see if it makes a difference. One of the seances that I did on the group that I run, the Intuitive Mentoring group on Facebook, one of the dads was coming through and he started spelling his name on the spirit board, N-O-R. And then over top, you heard him say hi. You could hear him say hello. And that EVP was caught while we were doing it too.
That's cool. So Jonathan says he gets a beep at 96.3 every session.
It said that spirits talk over each other. That's why we can't hear them clearly. Is that true?
I don't think so.
Whenever I've had more than one spirit talking, it's like being in a room. Like I'm hearing both of them at the same time. It doesn't. One's not canceling the other.
I think he meant though, like why we all can't hear spirits as well. Could I be wrong?
Maybe.
I think it takes a lot of energy for spirit to communicate with us. Like I think you have to be tuned into the frequency of what spirit is, and spirit's usually at a very high frequency, is what I believe. But like you said, people have these gifts. You've had it since you were a child. I think when you were talking about young children too, with Marie, right? Like some of the messages from your son Ryan as a 4-year-old, or what she was talking about her son too.
I think, and for some people, I think that we need people to not be this way too. Like trust your intuition. But for some people, we need people to be grounding people. For those of us that are like this, like we need those people who are a little more grounded. Like we all play a part. You may have a different gift and not this one. And I think grief gets in the way. There's so many different reasons. Healing, trauma. There's all kinds of things that can prevent it.
You read it right, Kerrilynn. I'm sorry, Kason or Kasun said I mean through the spirit box, by the way.
Jonathan saying they do talk over each other. I ask my guides to only allow the spirit I want to communicate with to talk. That makes sense too. If you're setting your intention, right? That was kind of what I did before the show started tonight. Did you hear it? It said, hear me.
I can't quite hear as loud because I know if you got to turn it up, then you just have to might translate, because otherwise that sweeping will be pretty loud, right?
Do you want to do it a little bit more?
Yeah. Does anybody want to hear from someone? I know we did that on our show, and the reason why I decided to do it, and I just pulled Jonathan on quickly, was a lot of people had lost a lot of people. It was the anniversary of the loss, and I was doing a show on my own, and some people got some really beautiful messages.
This was sort of a last minute, hey, this might be fun, let's try this. It was not necessarily well thought out.
Mine has not picked up anything yet. Usually when I'm outside, I've got the volume on. I don't usually hear something. It just comes across on the screen, and I've gotten all kinds of messages.
Contessa's asking for her friend Sandy to be able to come through. Jonathan's just sharing that's how I met Faye. So here's where I get concerned too. Did you hear it just stop?
Yeah.
It just stopped. Like the volume just went complete down all on its own. Isn't that interesting? Like, just stopped.
And it won't start again?
No, it's going back up now. It turned the volume right off.
Ooh. Okay, I just got something. Something clicked.
Weird.
I don't know what happened here. We'll see.
I'm going to turn the portal on at the same time.
Yeah, because sometimes I find one device is better than another at different times, don't you?
Mm-hmm. I had a mail. I don't know what to do though, but I have somebody coming through that I'm feeling in the room, and then this stopped working at the same time. I don't know.
Let's see what happens with the portal.
Yeah.
I'm going to try a different app because GhostTube usually almost always works for me. So let's see. Okay, we'll use Necrophonic.
Jonathan, have you used a portal, or do you always use an SB11 or an SB7?
No, it's going to be too interfering. That's why I like GhostTube. I must not have the voice because I don't get a voice coming through, or if it does, it's just female for GhostTube.
Right.
Necrophonic is going to compete with what you've got going. So let's open that up and see what comes through. We got a few people mentioned, a few people they'd like to hear from. Jonathan said, funny, my last live, the one I keep in my mirror box, stopped at 104.9 FM. And he couldn't turn it off.
So I find when the energy is really big, because those are brand new batteries. I made sure that I put brand new batteries in it.
Are they dead?
Yeah, the lights are fading and it's like it's dying.
So that's why I said it takes a lot of energy, and a lot of spirits will use the energy from the batteries to come through.
Yeah.
Idiotic. Oh, that wasn't very nice. I got a female voice that said idiotic. We only want positive people to come through. So did you hear that voice? It's female.
Yeah, and it came through in the portal as well too. Gotcha.
So let's see. We've got a lot of people looking for loved ones to come through. So I'll have to see. Do you still feel that person in the room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want me just to do my thing? I've never done my thing on the show before.
If I have a feeling, I have an idea who it is, but you go for it. Yeah, why not? Go ahead if you're comfortable, Kerrilynn. Her show.
I don't want people getting comfortable because I'm not doing readings every week. Which
I don't
sounds
do readings
horrible.
on my shows either,
Nope.
but once in a while you do if the opportunity arises. We were going to try and reach out to famous people, but
Yeah, like Whitney Houston comes through all the time, and she sings. Like she'll sing,
Whitney,
and
we'd love to hear you.
yeah.
I've been asking Robin to come through. Somebody wants David Bowie.
Yeah, he's come through sometimes too.
Yeah, it is quiet. The one thing my ghost tube said, idiotic. Like that wasn't very nice. What was that, Kerrilynn?
Is that too loud or is that good?
Perfect. Because then other people can hear it too.
Okay.
I'd love to hear Whitney Houston.
If I talk over top of it, is it okay?
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay. So I have a male figure that was really stepping up close. He was giving me that punch in the face. So fast, quick, traumatic, unexpected, not a proper goodbye. I'm not sure if he unalived himself, but his actions contributed to his passing as well too. He's maybe 5'11", between 5'11" and 6 feet. I'm only 5'2", and dude's tall and slender as well. And it does feel like it's close to railroad tracks. That's what he's showing me. It's close to these railroad tracks. I don't know why he came through or who he belongs to, but he's definitely here.
Got lots of celebrities here too. People are mentioning Patrick Swayze, David Bowie. Your show, do what you want, Kerrilynn.
Oh, I wasn't asking for a particular celebrity to come through. There was just like somebody extra coming through. If he's connected to somebody that's listening or will listen, I just know that's what he's showing me. And he's younger, like in his mid to late 20s when he was coming through.
Yeah, that would be cool, right, Kassan?
If he was singing Starman,
yeah,
David Bowie for sure. Yeah. I don't know. David Bowie has come through before as well too, and if he wanted to come through today, that would be great. We actually have I just need you to come in a little bit clearer.
Is it a man's voice?
It was a man's voice, yeah.
English accent?
I would like David Bowie to come in singing Under Pressure.
Yeah, because that sounded like David Bowie to me. His voice. I love that song by David Bowie, Under Pressure.
Well, it's a Queen song, so if you wanted to bring in Freddie Mercury at the same time, that would be great too.
Well, it was David Bowie's song, and
was it?
Yeah, and then Queen sampled it.
Oh.
Or, no, sorry. I'm wrong. They did it together. I was thinking about something else. No, they did it together. Let's think about that for a minute.
Yes, Michelle. Ground control to Major Tom. Agreed.
I can hear a male's voice. Has Princess Diana ever come through?
Yes. She's not come through a spirit box, but Princess Diana has come through for me.
She's got lovely energy.
So we're just going to ask if the fellow that was talking, if the fellow that was trying to speak through the box, if he was in the movie Labyrinth.
Or the Dark Crystal. It was Labyrinth. But...
It was Labyrinth.
I'm way off today. Still getting over my cold. My brain's not working. Excuse me.
And his eyes. Do you guys know which eye was blue and which eye wasn't? Because he had two different colored. He had heterochromia.
Was it his right eye that was blue? I can't remember.
The Goblin King.
I can't hear it clearly. I can just hear voices when they come through. Maybe the person that came through for you too that's there, maybe the person will be watching on the replay even.
Yeah, I hope so. Because he's hanging around, so even after the show is done, I might have to help him.
Yeah.
A little bit. So Kason is asking, what if they're already reborn? Which is a good question to ask. Could they still come through? And
I believe they can.
They can, because it's not their whole, it's qualities of their spirit. It's qualities of who they are that comes in a new spirit.
Yeah. I believe that too.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, I'm getting over a cold here, so.
My granddaughter just had a cold as well too. It's season.
That is him, isn't it? I knew it. He's been coming through before that because I could hear his voice. He's got that baritone type. I could heir him. I'm covered in goosebumps.
Thanks, Jonathan. So,
Jonathan, sorry.
That's okay. Jonathan's saying, asking surrounding spirits to give them strength to talk and work as a collaborative. This one's.
Yeah, Jonathan usually calls in Santos, and then his brothers. He was in the military, and he gets to come through, and he does do that. Actually, it was really interesting when we did the Estes method.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh no, I just wondered if you heard that. Oh.
I heard it, but I didn't hear what he said. So feel free to translate because, like I said, I can hear.
I think for me, because I'm hearing you in here with the headphones on, and then I've got this, so it's hard for me to hear. I'm going to take this one out. Okay. But I heard the word magic.
Okay. What was that?
It was a female voice and a male voice at the same time.
Yeah. Michelle said yes. I usually ask them questions. Do you just let it play usually and just let it play?
I wait and feel like it's not so crowded, but we can yes, we can ask them.
You know what I do, but it doesn't always work. Is
I didn't hear what it said. Are you guys hearing what it said? Sorry. It seems to talk at the same time you're talking, and then I have you in my ears.
That happened with Jonathan.
Yeah, so when I have the headphones and I'm hearing you and I'm not picking up, but it's happening when you talk, they're talking. You ask the question.
If this is David Bowie, can you play Under Pressure, please? Move over. I just heard. That's
yourself. It just said yourself.
You want me to move over? Funny. Well, I'm covered in goosebumps.
It said yourself. Yeah, it said yourself.
On my bed, you want me to move over? You want me to move my consciousness? I haven't opened myself up.
What happens too when I'm doing this is when we do the seances, some people are asking questions out loud and I'm asking questions in my head, and the questions I'm asking in my head get answered as well too, which is interesting.
Can Robin Williams come through, please? Okay, I've just asked him a question in my head. If he comes through, we'll see if he does.
If we ask out loud, yes. So asking out loud does help. I agree that it makes for stronger responses.
Mm-hmm. And Kassan, you're absolutely right. It is Amy of Amy's Crypt that's developed these apps. She has all kinds of apps. She has an SLS. She has all kinds of things like that.
Bella.
Aww.
What kind of questions do we want to ask him? Yeah.
I heard him here. Tell Robin to. That's what I was thinking in my head, Jonathan.
If we can get Robin to say Nanu Nanu.
That's the question I asked him in my head. When I said to you, I asked,
awesome.
did he come through? That's exactly what I asked him to say. Michelle did too. She asked Robin the same thing. She said,
yeah. At the beginning of the video for Under Pressure with Annie Lennox and David Bowie, he starts with a psychic joke. He tells a psychic joke.
My mine just said, "Don't leave me."
Oh.
I'm trying to pause here. I have had a little bit of activity. My dog's been acting crazy. Kerrilynn knows that, so I'm sort of seeing too. That's why I have mine on. That sounds like Robin.
Casey's just sharing about Amy being down to earth in response to fan comments. Did you hear the hi over top of me talking? There was a hi.
Can you tell us your name, please?
Who was saying hello? It's hard because you want it to sound like something.
Did you hear it at all? Did you hear it?
Yeah.
What did it say?
It was just music to me.
Okay, so what was the music?
It sounded like the Major Tom music to me.
Wow.
What did you hear?
I heard a male voice, but I only get like almost like the bass coming through.
Oh, yeah, no, it sounded like the Major Tom.
That's why I keep asking you, what did they say? Because I just hear a voice. I don't hear what it says. If I had headphones in, I would.
Yeah, we might have to rewatch it too, because I know that when we've listened to it, we're just getting a lot of hellos. So I think that
I almost feel like it's people that ask to hear from their loved ones that they're coming through to say hello.
yeah.
So if you
So I'll tell you, the female figure that just said hello feels not very tall. I'm right here. I'm right here.
Somebody's mama.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. A little bit taller. Well, not a whole lot taller than me. Definitely cancer related, and my spine really hurts. And she keeps showing me that when her eyes were closed, when she couldn't communicate back, she could feel somebody kissing her on her temple, and she keeps saying thank you. And there's somebody that here connected to her that's like hurt their toe or hurt their foot on the outside of it. Oh, she keeps coming through. There's something about music and that a little girl is seeing her and the lights are flickering. Oh, in a 2-story house, and there's a small dog with her. Oh, yeah. So can you say our names?
Jonathan's itching to get in here.
I bet. Probably because he would. Oh, every time we start talking, that's when they're talking.
That happened with me.
And I can't hear it. I can't hear what they're saying as I'm talking and hearing you. I'm missing it. So it's something that we'll have to listen to again later.
For people with the Estes method, one person wears a blindfold or they have their eyes closed and they're just listening to the SB7. The other person can't hear and they're asking questions. Jonathan and I did that. He's in the States and I'm in Canada, and I would wait sometimes 30 seconds to ask something. Every time I spoke, they came through.
Yeah. And that's what was happening. So we'll have to listen to it again. I just need to be mindful of our time, right?
I just looked.
I know it's later than 5 minutes later than, but thank you everybody that was joining us today. And thank you, Jonathan. And I would love to have you on. We can do this. And I would love to be educated more to understand it at more than because it's not something that I do all the time. Right. So if you're open to that. Oh, Kirsten. Hi. I'm glad that you were here too. I'm sorry that we're leaving and that we have to end, but thank you, Lorelei, for being here and popping in.
Thank you for having me on. I need to have you back on my show again. I was just thinking that it's been a while, and then we can hang out and talk all kinds of spooky stuff and everything.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's fun sometimes to do things like this is outside of the box for me. Like, even though it's still my comfort zone, it's kind of outside of the box for doing it on the show. But I think that, we could do something like that again at another point in time. But thank you, everybody that was participating in the chat and who helped support the show today. Thank you to our wonderful network, the UFO Paranormal Radio Network and the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 New Orleans. If you are sticking around, we would love that. You can show some support for Jeffrey Pritchett. His show is on next. I know Jeffrey's pretty awesome. So it's the Church of Mavis will be on, and next week on the show it's going to be really fascinating and intense. I have to admit I'm a wee bit nervous about next week. So I know that I get nervous all the time, but Edmondo, I think it's, oh my goodness, I'm not remembering his name, but it's his last name. I'm so sorry, but it's the Vampa Museum. He has a museum of good and evil. And so if you guys have been following along with the show, I've had Dominic Sattel, Julie Krause, and Eric Mintel on, and they have all investigated and said it's intense and creepy. The property, the antique shop, the museum, good versus evil, and the owner and curator is going to be on
is he
the
doing
show.
The show from inside the shop?
Yes, I think so.
Oh, that's going to be wild.
He lives above it, so the house is part of it, and
that's going to be wild.
So I really, we've had orbs and all kinds of different things happen on the show on different with different guests. So I have a feeling that's one that we really need to pay attention to, because it feels like activity will happen during the show for sure. Wow. So I'm kind of, I think it will be a good one. I'm super excited. But thanks a lot, everybody. And
we will this last hour.
Oh my gosh, I love that you're here. I love hanging out with you any chance I get.
You.
Any chance I get.
Me too.
Oh, thank you, Jonathan. We'll just do a quick shout out for Jonathan as well too. Jonathan's saying I'm on tonight at 8:05 p.m. Mountain Time talking about the power of emotions. It's huge.
Wow.
Huge. So you guys can
check him out. If you guys want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me on facebook.com/theangelrock, just in case anybody wants to send me their stories of when you were there crossing in something miraculous. I would love to hear your stories. Thanks for having me again.
Oh, you're welcome. Have a good night, everyone.
Night, everyone.